Hey YouTube, Robbie coming to you guys here with another Edison deck profile. I don't think I mentioned it in the video before, and I apologize. Edison is in 2010 March format. So, yeah, that's kind of the time range we're looking at. So that's Synchro era for the most part. There's some other cool decks that played non-synchros too much, and we'll get into that. There's a couple that I have here. Some of the decks that don't need synchros to win, but yeah. Next deck is a big contender, in my opinion, is Blackwings. This deck, still good from 2009 Nationals when it had Dark Strike Fighter craziness. It is a little watered down. There's a couple of cards we'll go over. That's why it's watered down, and we'll go through it. And it got some new cards with like value compared to the 09 version. And there's just new cards in the extra deck from before that I didn't have, and all this blah, 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 blah. But we'll go through the deck, and I'll go through it all, really. So, 3 Shura, 3 Bora, only 1 Gale, 1 Vayu, 2 Sirocco, 3 Kalut, and 2 Bora. So, this is like your more staple Blackwing lineup. There's a lot of cool interactions with this card that we'll go over in a little bit, and this card. I mean, this deck was just really aggro and can be really control all at the same time. It had a lot of like really interesting interactions. Next, 2 Doom Caliber Knights. This card was really good back then. As I was talking about in the the Jeff Jones deck profile, the Quick Draw Dandy, a lot of the monsters in this time format set monsters. This is one of those examples of a deck that did not really set monsters unless you had a really bad hand, be it Vayu or sometimes a Kalut. Other than that, you tried to never set a monster in this deck. And then when you're really like trying to get rid of the opposing set monsters, be it Spy, Hamster, Raikou, Doom Caliber was just like kind of the card to go to. 1 Cyber Dragon. This is kind of like a staple monster in the format. You'll see it in a lot of the decks, and it's just a good card. And lastly is Dark Arm Dragon. This is a dark deck. You can kind of manipulate the graveyard with Vayu and Blizzard. And he can be your best card in the deck or your worst card. 2 Black Whirlwind. This card was limited or semi-limited to 2 at the time, so it was kind of just a good card. Next, there are like semi-staple cards here of these 3, and 2 Book of Moons. And then this is a dark deck, so you did facilitate a lot of need for Allure Darkness, just to kind of dig you into the Black Whirlwind so you can win the game quicker. Other than that, this deck did not need a lot of spells. It played a good number of traps as well, just like a lot of decks in the format. So we'll go over the quote-unquote staple couple. Call the Haunted, I technically guess you can count as a staple. All these cards are pretty much staple in the format. And the one thing that's like really not in the deck that you'd normally see would be like Dust Tornado, is because this deck can play Icarus Attack. And this card was Nutter Butter. Yeah, you just have to watch out for Starlight Roads with this card, and that's about it. And then Royal Oppression. Card I really hate playing within this format, and a lot of the decks don't play it. More just on choice / a lot of the decks at the time didn't play this card, but this card was really good, and there was a lot of cool interactions with it. An example with Whirlwinds that I could go over is if you had a target for this and a target in deck for this, it gets around Oppression as long as you can search for this, because you can go 1-2, search, summon, and they can't negate it. They can negate your Synchro, obviously, but whatever. And then since Vayu does not banish for cost, you can go activate Vayu. And I've seen this before. Someone goes Oppression, and you go, okay, activate Vayu. Because this just does not a cost, and it's just another card. It's not once per turn or nothing. That's all. So that is that. One of the more staple cards in the extra deck the other deck didn't play, and almost every deck you're going to see plays, is Chimera Tech. Chimera Tech was just because Cyber Dragons suck up a whole machine board against Gadgets, Machinas. Kind of an important card in almost every extra deck that you're going to see throughout the old format series for Edison. The Blackwing specific cards are 2 Armed Wings, 2 Armor Masters, sorry, the other way around, and This card, you can only really make this card with this in graveyard and a Vayu. You're not really trying to make this card that often, but it's a free monster if this dies, so that's kind of cool. Then your 6s are these two. Goyo has another reason with another card in the extra deck that you'll see some decks do often, and that's because they kind of had the space. And then 7, we just have Black Rose. And then the 8s, we have a lot of 8s. We have good mix. You didn't really make 8s all that often. If you did, it was a very specific hand where you could make like Cyber Dragon. You could make like 2 8s or a 7 and an 8. And you didn't really need these. This was a prize card at the time, but since we're now, 2021, this card's like $1. You can play with it. And then the last card in the extra deck is Gyzarus. You had Goyo Brain Control, was literally the reason why this card's in here. And some people played Creature Swap in their Glad Beast decks, which is weird. So if you were somehow fortunate to get the 2 materials for this, you could blow up the field. So that is Black Wings, guys. The deck was really aggressive. I mean, a lot of trap cards are good. Icarus was just an ignorant card. Sometimes you had to just set 1 to not get Icarus. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this, and catch you guys later.